Good evening, everybody. It's been a long day, but I've come to a question, and I have to ask this once again to myself. Why work? Why work? And I say this as an essential employee, and I have to ask myself this because I believe that my state in particular has been approved for an additional $400 for unemployment. So it's been decreased by $200. It's only been decreased by $200 instead of 600. So if I were to go on unemployment benefits as of tomorrow, I would be making, um, personally for me, I would be making around, I would say, before taxes, maybe around $800 to $900 with that. That's not bad, you know. That's more than what majority of Americans make on their paycheck. Can you believe it? That's crazy, right? Yeah, that's still more than what a majority of Americans make on your paycheck. And I know some of you guys are like, oh, well, I make that in a day. Well, yeah, you're not the majority though. You're definitely the minority. And with that being said, since majority of Americans still make more on unemployment because that $400 bonus is basically $10 an hour of 40 hours work a week. That's a lot of people right there. Wait, is it 10? Let me think. 10 times 40 is, yep, that's 400. So if you make $400 a week, if you make $10 an hour, and then you make $400 at the CARES Act, well, if you were to make $10, for example, um, if you were to make $10, for example, per hour, you would make $600 with the additional $400 in CARES Act bonus. And this is all before taxes. And I believe that with the CARES Act and unemployment insurance, they don't even tax certain things like Social Security. So it's not too bad. And a lot of youngsters, and there's a lot of people who don't even really care about medical and dental, or they have some sort of, or their company still offers it to them anyway. So that's cool too. I mean, like, I know myself in particular, yes, I have braces, but I'm also in my 20s, so I don't really think I'm going to injure myself, and I don't really think I'm going to need a doctor anytime soon. And I can live for a while. Like, I can make sure I'm safe for at least a year's time or 2 years. There's also free government alternatives if you can't afford Medicare, or medical through like a professional. There's government issued like Medicare, for example, or MedQuest, I think, in my state in particular. So yeah, I'm not really too worried about that, and I'm gonna be safe because I'm gonna keep myself safe. But yeah, what's the point of going back to work? Especially if you make $10 an hour or less. Like, even if you make $20 an hour, that's $800 an hour, right? I mean, that's sorry, it's been a long day. If you make $20 an hour and you times that by 40, that's $800 a week before taxes, right? So, and then you get that, and if you have that, which is 50% of your unemployment insurance, but my state in particular is 58% of your weekly paycheck. Well, that's still a lot of money because that's around $400 plus the $400 in the CARES Act bonus. That's $800 a week. So yeah, now I'm making the same amount. So if I make $20 an hour, I'm making the same amount as I would. So anything less than $20, you'd benefit financially, and then you'd have all that free time to do whatever you want. And then also, but if you make a little bit more than $20, the more you make after 20, the less financially beneficial it becomes. But who cares? Like, let me ask you this: if you could do, would you rather do a job where you're miserable and you hate it, but you make $30 an hour, or you're really really happy all the time but you only make $20 an hour, but you love your job, you love what you do, you feel good every day? Wouldn't you rather, make $20 rather than $30? Probably. Um, so, people are definitely willing to take a pay cut if they can receive some sort of passive income that's a still significant amount for a living bonus, a living wage. So why would people want to return back to work? I don't know. It doesn't make sense. And in my case, since I make 17.66 an hour as an essential employee and I'm not receiving hazard pay, I would make significantly more on unemployment while having free time to focus on my college, my education, my mental health, focusing on my family, helping my parents out, bettering my life, doing extracurricular activities at those free times, um, advancing my education even faster with all the free time. So why would I want to go back to work? I don't. You know what? And I might find a way to file for unemployment just like everybody else. I know a lot of people, especially young people, and even older people too. It doesn't really matter. It just depends about your mostly about your wage bracket, really, and that's the majority of Americans who make less than $30 an hour. Why would none of them really want to go back to work? If you ever talk to them, they say, I talked to my friend, and he was telling me like he's an engineer major, and he sometimes watches my videos, and he told me this. He's an engineer major, but with all this free time, he's done amazing things. Like he designed his website. He's been playing some video games. He's finally had free time to play video games. He's been spending time with his friends, his family, playing tons of video games. He's first time investing in the stock market of all the free money he's making. Well, it's not free, but I mean it is free for him because he's, you know, but yeah, it's not free for America. But yeah, he's been using all that money because he's making more money than ever on the stock market, and he's made some good gains off that financially. He has a lot of free time to do whatever he wants. He's not risking his health, and he told me this: even if they cut the CARES Act bonus by 200, he's okay with that. He told me this: blank, if they cut the CARES Act by just $200 and it's 400, I'm okay with that. I'm still happy. He said that too. I was pretty pissed, but I already knew. I mean, same here. Even if even if the CARES Act was 200, I would still go on it just because that's definitely enough to sustain a living. Like you gotta think about it, right? That $400 times four is still 1,600 per month. There's a lot of people in America who can live off that. Like, yes, there are people in like certain states who can't live off that, but I live in the top two, top three, top four most expensive state in America, and that amount of money is definitely enough to live off of if you're wise with it, And yes, you can pay rent with that. You can buy your food, and you know, it's definitely enough. So yes, people will not hop off unemployment. Everyone's gonna find reasons to be on it still, unless you drag them back to work. So, another thing I like to discuss is that yes, if I haven't made it clear enough, there's still too much incentive to not go back to work, just financially and for your time. Time is priceless, and now people have more free time to do whatever they want. My friend's done a lot of great things with it, so why would he want to go back to work? He doesn't. As an engineering major, he can use all his free time to like do things like work under the table for cash. But anyway, that moving on. Um, Another thing I'd like to bring up is the value of the dollar has been losing value. I remember when Andrew Yang was running for presidency, right? A lot of people, one of the biggest argument was, how are you going to pay for that? How are you going to pay for an $1,000 UBI? That's what Andrew Yang was running. He wanted to give $1,000. He wanted to give $1,000 a month to all Americans in a UBI. And people's biggest argument was, how are you going to pay for that? He said it's because people's biggest argument is going to cause inflation. Well, for some reason, Americans don't want to ask that question about all this unemployment benefits until recently, when Warren Buffett finally started buying gold. People would never ask the question though. If we print all this money and people only consume and don't produce, what about inflation? Well, now Warren Buffett bought gold, which is finally waking up Americans that yes, inflation is possible. And I've been saying that for months now, right? I've been complaining about the hazard pay and how that even if we got a $10,000 hazard pay, it wouldn't be the same, right? Because it just the value of the dollar is losing value. And I was talking about how you need to buy things like gold and silver and other commodities to make up for this. And so, with that being said, um, with I don't know why, but people like to forget about inflation or anything, um, like about Andrew Yang or the idea of free money when it benefits them. And this is what has not Tommy. This is what had only solidified my theory that no one really cares about being left or right, Republican, Democrat. It's all about what can I get? What can I get? Because people's vote can be bought out easily. be bought out very easily because people are selfish. They only look out for themselves. In America, it's all about me, myself, and I. So, with that being said, um, who's gonna, no one's, and the biggest criticism toward Andrew Yang was just it's gonna cause inflation, but nobody's ever questioning the unemployment benefits, right? You have all these people who are doing nothing, or doing whatever they want, stealing from the government, working on the table for cash, not paying their taxes, or even if they are, they're not producing anything. While you have these essential employees who are being taxed like crazy, and they're making less money than those on unemployment on average. And you don't people weren't concerned about inflation. Well, you should be now. I don't know why the news media outlets haven't been concerned about inflation. When Andrew Yang was running for presidency, all the news outlets were like, "Oh, Andrew Yang's proposal is gonna cause inflation." Well, you make all. Well, what about this? You have all these people. At least when Andrew Yang's UBI was there, people in theory were still working, so people were still would be producing. But with this current unemployment benefits and the way it's being issued, you have millions out of the 50 million people. You have 2/3 of them making more money than ever, doing nothing and only consuming and not producing anything. So that's what really leads to inflation, not Andrew Yang's UBI. He had a bunch of different theories on how he would provide that UBI, but it doesn't matter to me in the end of the day because I'm just trying to explain that, well, people should definitely be more aware of inflation. And if you don't know what inflation is, well, think about it like this. You got one apple, okay? And America owns this one apple. And you have, I don't know, 300 million slices for each individual American. Well, they what they do is that they basically they've cut the apple into more. They cut everybody's apple slices into more slices, and then said, "Hey, look, we have more apples," even though we don't. It's the same apple. They only have one apple, but it's technically more slices. So they're like, "Yep, we have more apples now," and then they redistribute those apple slices accordingly to different people who own these slices. And some people get more slices, while some people just get less. So that's, you know, there's only one apple still. There's no two. There's not any more apple than before. People are still gonna be eating the same amount. So yeah, it's kind of unfortunate. So I don't know who's gonna want to go back to work, especially if all this inflation going on. The best course of action is to be on unemployment, so you have more time to gauge the stock market, the economy, more time so you can prepare for the turmoil moving forward. You can better study things like economics, so you can better adjust yourself to the upcoming problems. And again, there's no point to working as of right now because think about it like this: they're never gonna end the CARES Act until a long time, because if millions of people agree to not go back to work and make excuses, as long as this COVID is a big deal, no one's gonna want to return back to work. So, America can't let, millions and millions and millions of people starve. So what would they do instead? Well, America instead will just make sure that people work. I mean, not work. They'll just keep giving out these handouts, especially because the election's coming up soon, and no one wants to lose votes, so they're gonna buy votes. And again, the government pretty much has to pander to the voters now because they just can't let millions and millions of people starve because it's the government's fault. So with that being said, I kind of went on a tangent, but I'm also finally on my day off, and it's been a long day too. So hope you have a good day. I don't know.